So the task was research the different diagrams that we use to represent a mid-latitude cyclone. How do we represent a mid-latitude cyclone? Or how do we draw a mid-latitude cyclone? How many diagrams or perspectives? You must be able to draw and describe each and every diagram. You draw and label all of them. And then now I give you a hint so that you kind of have an idea of what the question wants. The one shown below, the diagram shown below, is a top view of a mid-latitude cyclone, meaning that this is us looking at a mid-latitude cyclone from the top, guys. It's like you are on top of a building and you are looking at the heads of the people from the top. I'm sure you guys have got balconies in your, okay, so let's just say you are on a balcony or you are on an upstairs or on top of a roof or something like that. You are looking at people's heads because you are seeing them from the top view. Okay, that's a top view. So you are given that all these diagrams that you have been doing all along. I'm sure guys who have been using diagrams like this all along, right? Yes. That's a top view of a mid-latitude cyclone. It's a top view. It's otherwise known as a plane view. So you are given that it's known as a top or a plane view. It's a hint. So you just need to research other views that we can be able to draw of a mid-latitude cyclone. Okay. But people not making an attempt, that's a problem. That's a problem. And just writing short-term answers and describing cold fronts and warm fronts, because I say that you must draw each and describe each of them. Guys, you've got focus textbook, you've got DBE study guides, you've got platinum textbooks, you've got many textbooks, you've got YouTube, you've got, hey guys, you've got everything here. You need to research, not researching for the sake of copying and just pasting the answer and telling us that this is this without understanding it. These days, guys, the YouTube channels even showing illustrative videos showing you how does the air move in kind of a realistic sense. Okay, you should make use of such resources because those resources are not made for anyone else but you. They are not made to benefit the YouTuber. No, they are made to benefit you. Okay, so please make use of that. When you do research, use textbooks, focus textbook, read through the chapter. Even what we have done so far, what I've already taught, there might be things that I may have omitted. You go and look at them, you read them thoroughly, you understand them. Are we together? Yes,
sir.
please normalize taking your time reading the books, researching on the internet what you don't understand. Maybe if they say the warm air is rising, maybe you don't understand how that happens. Go and search on Google, guys. They're gonna show you on YouTube, they're gonna show you images of how this happens. I mean, I'm not a graphic designer, okay? If I was a graphic designer, I would be making those animations for you guys so that I can put on the YouTube channel. But all I can do, I can just show this on the screen. That's my best. If you just go, guys, the simple thing, you can just go to YouTube and I will show you. It's very simple. You go, you search, how does it happen? There's even an app, I think it's known as Educate. You just go to Google, you search. Maybe you're searching that, I don't know, maybe you search that a mid-latitude cyclone. And maybe you say it's an animation video. It's going to give you some sort of an illustration. Yeah, but these videos, they are short indeed and what. But when you view these videos, guys, they kind of help you to see how something happens in reality, in real life. Because remember that besides just grasping concepts for writing exams, if you understand how it happens, animation videos, they always help you so that you understand how processes work. Use these resources, guys, because these videos are for free. You are watching them for free. You are not paying the creator for the videos. You see, these videos, they are moving. They show you how it develops a low pressure. Guys, isn't it what we've been doing so far? Isn't it what we've been doing?
It is.
It is. And it's even an animation. It is moving. You can be able to say, hi man, this is a development stage. Look at this. Now a low pressure comes. Now it's maturing. Now it's having cold front. It's having a warm front. Now there's an occluded front. It's an occlusion. It's something that you can look at. There are other animations that are even good and they show more details. Okay. So normalize using such so that you understand what you are doing. All right.
Yes, sir.
So let's look at those diagrams. I said, for example, when we look at a human being is one person, but we can represent them or we can draw them from different perspectives. This is a back view of a human being, this person. This is a front view of this human being. This is a side view, maybe the left side view. And then this is okay, this one is a cross-sectional view. It's known as a cross-sectional view. It's a cross-section because they've kind of cut through him, kind of a cross-section. So do you see that, guys? We're having different ways of representing a human being. Similarly, a mid-latitude cyclone has got different diagrams. That's why I wanted something like this, guys. Diagrams that represent a mid-latitude cyclone. The hint that you were given is that this one is a top view. It shows the top, the mid-latitude cyclone from the top. You are viewing it from the top. It's like you are viewing the head of a person while you are on top of the roof. It's the one that we've been working with for all our videos. For all our sessions, we've been working with this diagram. It is the most common one most of the times. Then we've got another one, which is a synoptic weather map view. Haven't we done something like this, guys? Haven't we done a mid-latitude cyclone and a synoptic weather map?
We did.
We did, yes. So this is a diagram. It is still showing a mid-latitude cyclone, but now it is showing it on top of a synoptic weather map. A synoptic weather map, you have learned what it is from grade 10. It's a weather map showing all these low pressure cells, showing the atmospheric pressures, showing different things. It's showing the isobars, all of those. But in the plan view, there is no isobar here, guys. There's no okay. There we do have isobars just for that cell, but we don't have the map. We don't have South Africa there. But a synoptic weather map, it comes like this. This is a synoptic weather map. This is a synoptic weather map, and it has got a date on top. So this is a synoptic weather map view of a mid-latitude cyclone. So when you see this mid-latitude cyclone on top of a synoptic weather map, it's known as a synoptic weather map view. I will run over these ones because they are not really crucial than the one we'll do after this. We have a satellite image view of a mid-latitude cyclone. So this is how it actually looks like on a satellite. I'm sure you guys have learned of remote sensing in GIS in grade 11. You have learned of that, right? Yes, there's a satellite there, guys, out there that is rotating on the Earth's axis. So it is rotating on, it's revolving around the Earth with a satellite. And this satellite is able to capture images, okay? It's able to capture images of the Earth, how we look like. So do you see that, guys? We're having the clouds here, and these clouds are kind of rotating in a clockwise direction. So it's known as a satellite image. So when these clouds are rotating in this way, you can see that these clouds are kind of swelling. We say that the clouds are swelling in a clockwise direction. So when clouds are swelling in a clockwise direction, or they are rotating in a clockwise direction, it tells you that the air there is rotating in a clockwise direction. If they ask you which hemisphere is this mid-latitude cyclone, what would you say?
South hemisphere.
The southern hemisphere.
Yes, the southern hemisphere, because we can see that the clouds are swelling in a clockwise direction, showing that the rotation of the air is clockwise. So this is a realistic image of how it looks like, guys. So whenever you see clouds forming in this way, this is the mid-latitude cyclone coming to attack you. I'm sure, Trevor, you wanted to know how it looks like in real life. Yes, this is how it looks like. And Tina, we're at the Earth's surface. These are the clouds above us. They will be rotating like this, and we'll be experiencing a lot of bad weather conditions. Do we hear each other?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have got this. Okay, these ones, I'm running over them because they're not so crucial. The most crucial one, it is this side view. Please, Trevor, open your mic and confirm if you can hear me properly, because I want you to listen carefully on this one. Trevor, can you hear me? Is Trevor even in the room or what? It looks like he's gone or something. But Trevor was asking because he was interested to know if this mid-latitude cyclone is something that we experience here on Earth. Yes, guys, it's something that we experience here on Earth. So this is a side view of a mid-latitude cyclone. So the side view of a mid-latitude cyclone is otherwise known as the cross-sectional view. So this is known as the cross-sectional. It's a cross-section view, or it's a cross-sectional view of a mid-latitude cyclone. This is how it looks like from the side. I'm sure this is more familiar, guys. Can you see the ground? Do you see the ground, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so this is the ground. This is where we are as humans. Although my ground is not so straight, it's a bit slopey. So this is the ground level that we are here as humans. So this is your ground or the earth surface. So the cold front, how does it actually look like in real life, or how does it affect? Which areas does it affect? So here, this is where we are. We have probably our houses here. We've got our houses and our buildings, and this is where we are staying as humans. This is your Johannesburg here. So this is your Johannesburg, and then the surrounding towns. This is the place that we are residing at. So the cold front, we use this symbol to draw it, this circular symbol, this circular shape. This is the cold front. From the side view, we don't draw these things, guys. We don't draw this on a side view. We don't draw this, okay? Don't put those triangles. We don't draw them for a side view. We only draw them if we are using a plane view or a synoptic weather map. But from the side view, this is how a cold front looks like. It's the model that we use, or is the model that we create to describe the cold front. So this is a what? A cold front. Do we see that?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
And then the warm front, yes, Sam?
So in other words, you try to say the cold front is curvy.
Yes, it's kind of curvy. It is steep. It is curvy. Correct.
Okay.
And the warm front, it looks like a straight line. It looks like this. It's kind of gentle. So the warm front is this one. So this is your warm front. You don't draw those semicircles, guys. Don't draw this. Yes or no?
So the cold front and the warm front, why they are not meeting?
Okay, for now, I'm sure this is just a diagram of a moment where they are not yet connected to one another. They can connect with one another, but when we draw them from the top view, if I draw something like this from the top view, it doesn't really mean that these two are meeting. There is a bit of space between them, but because you are viewing it from the top, that space is kind of not that much visible. Okay.
Oh,
yeah, so we hardly represent the space when we are drawing it like this, but when we draw it from the side view, we must just leave a space to show that the cold front hasn't caught up with the warm front. This is a mature stage actually of a mid-latitude cyclone, because the cold front is not yet overlapping with the warm front. It's a mature stage.
So say,
yes,
since the cold front and the warm front bekahlangene in the polar front, right?
yes,
So if they broke up in the middle when the cold front pushes down.
mm-hmm.
I am asking, say,
You're asking, Guti, do they break up when the
cold air pushes down?
Okay, so guys, when we draw things from the top, such as the polar front like this, yes, it's just us trying to explain it in that way. But in a realistic sense, the side view is a bit more realistic, Yabo. That's why we put this space. So don't put too much focus on the top view and ask too many questions when it comes to the side view, because the side view is a bit more realistic. There's spaces. Sometimes the cold front has not yet caught up with the warm front. They are still chasing each other. Okay, but from the plane view, we don't really show that much. Okay? So even from the polar front, we just show the polar front changing into a wave. Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video, and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Educate is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes. As I was explaining, I think I was explaining these models, guys, with him. These models are not really anything accurate, because remember, guys, that these are fronts, these polar fronts, the the polar fronts, the cold fronts, the warm fronts. It is just models that we use to try and describe a boundary between cold air and warm air. Okay, so they are not really drawn to scale. They are not really accurate. It's just a way for us to be able to describe this phenomena. Okay, so the one that we use the most, it is the side view or the cross-sectional view of a mid-latitude cyclone. Why do we use the cross-sectional view of a mid-latitude cyclone the most? It is because it is the most realistic one. It is the most realistic one for us because it shows us the side view from the scale that you can be able to see. Okay? Are we hearing each other?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So we have got a cold front and a warm front. The cold front is just a curvy, and then the warm front, it is a flat kind of a line. Okay, so the cold front, one of the things that you need to know from this diagram, the cold front is steep. Okay, the cold front is steep. The cold front, it is steep. You guys can see that it has got a steep gradient, right? It is steep. It has got a steep pressure gradient. It has got a steep pressure gradient. Just from the way that we have drawn it, guys, you can see that the cold front here, it looks a bit slopey, or it looks a bit steep from this diagram. Can you see that, guys? It's a bit steep. It's not gentle. It's just got a slope, like it's slopey. Yes, so that's a steep pressure gradient. Remember, guys, that the pressure gradient force, it is the one that causes strong winds to come. So if there's a steep pressure gradient, it means that there will be strong winds. But later on, we are still going to do the weather conditions later on. But I just want you to guys to have an idea that the cold front, it is steep, but the warm front, it is gentle. There's a gentle pressure gradient at the warm front. That's why we draw the models in this way. So the warm front has got a gentle pressure gradient. Sharp. So the air behind the cold front, guys, is it cold or is it warm?
It's warm.
Behind the cold front.
Behind. It's cold. It's cold.
Cold, guys. At the back. Behind is like at the back. This is at the back of the cold front. So we have got cold air. We have got cold air. We have got cold air. This cold air, it is like pushing this cold front, and it is undercutting the warm air. It's kind of taking away the warm air, So we know that we have got cold air behind the cold front. We have got cold air that is found in the cold sector. So this is our cold sector. So the region behind the cold front, this region behind the cold front, it is the cold sector because it is the area that is consisting of the cold air. Just like from the plan view, guys, remember that our cold sector from the plan view, do you still remember where it was positioned? This one. Do you see the cold sector from the plan view, from the top view? It is the same cold sector that we have from the plan view. It's just that the plan view is just the top view. We are viewing it from the top, okay? Do you see this cold sector from the top view?
No, sir. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the cold sector from the top view. It is the same thing.
Yes, sir.
It is the same thing as the one that we have now. It's just that now we are viewing it from the side, okay? Just taking a side view. So this region filled with cold air, it is the cold sector. Then after the cold sector, we expect to have a region that is filled with warm air, right? This
Yes,
region.
sir.
So this region here, we have got warm air, and this warm air, it is rising. Remember that we say that the warm air, it is rising. As the cold air front is approaching, all the warm air, it is rising. So we must always have warm, moist air that is rising. Okay? So this region that has got some warm air, this space that has got some warm air, or this region with some warm air, it is known as the warm sector. Okay, just like the one from the plan view, this is our warm sector. Are we able to see it, guys?
Yes.
And
Yes,
then
sir.
the last, okay, then we've got our warm front here. This is a warm front. You can see that it's a gentle gradient. After the warm front, what do we have after the warm front? Here, the air that we find here in this region, do you think it's cold or it's warm?
Wow.
It's cold.
It's cold, guys. It's cold. We only have warm air behind the warm front. We only have got warm air behind, like at the back, guys. Behind means at the back, emuva, kamorao. Okay. So do you see here this region that I'm highlighting? It is the warm sector. That's where there's warm, moist air rising. It is behind the warm front. But after or ahead of the warm front, here at this region, here, we have got cold air again. It's the cold sector again. Even from the plan view, guys, we can be able to see that from the plan view. If we look at our plan view, yes, Sam?
No, so you already talked about what I was going to ask.
Okay, so here, if you look, guys, at the plan view, do you see that here the warm air is only found in this region that I'm highlighting in yellow? Do you see it?
Yes.
This is where the warm air is found, and it's behind the warm front. It is found behind the warm front. This is where the warm air is found, behind the warm front. Ahead of the warm front or after the warm front here, we are finding what type of air here?
Cold.
Cold air again. It's part of the cold sector one more time. All right. So we only have got warm air behind the warm front, but ahead of the warm front we have got cold air, cold dry air. We usually refer to it as cold dry air to emphasize that it is not humid. So it's cold dry air. Do we all see this? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So here we are still going to explain why we have cumulonimbus clouds at the cold front. I'm sure you can see this diagram, guys, of the cross-sectional view, the image that I've pasted here. There's cumulonimbus clouds there. Here there's stratus clouds. It can be nimbostratus or altostratus, all the clouds that you learned in grade 10. But we will only do this when we're talking about the weather conditions associated with the mid-latitude cyclone. But as for now, we will only discuss based on the air here that we have. So the warm air, we have got warm air that is rising here in the warm sector. So the warm air is always rising, but the cold air, it is sinking. So most of the times the diagram that they will use will kind of show these arrows. The arrows for cold air, they will be kind of sinking to show that the cold air is heavy, it is sinking. That's why my arrows, I'm making them to be a bit curved to make them seem like they are sinking. Okay. Yes, Yango.
I have an imagination.
You have an imagination, yes.
Yes. Okay. What? I have an imagination on the Columbus. Yeah, clouds. Would see why it's on the cold area.
Okay.
It's on the cold air.
What is your imagination, yes?
I think it is because when the cold air pushes the warm air. When you say pushile, my pushile and ipushe yandlula la ipusha khona lo moya loshisako uyarise same ipushe yandlula, so lama Columbus clouds ayafomeka from lapho, then say kuba ni heavy rainfall but kune cold sect. I don't understand.
That's correct, absolutely correct. Just to give a bit of translation there, this is Yangoba imagining why we are having cumulonimbus clouds. It is because there is some warm air that is rapidly rising here at the cold front. We have got some warm, moist air that is rapidly rising, and the moment it reaches the upper atmosphere, it will eventually condense and form some clouds. But I would like to reserve that for another day, which will be our last session on mid-latitude cyclones. I think that the next session will be our last session on mid-latitude cyclones. But I wanted us to understand the diagrams that we use to represent mid-latitude cyclone. Do you understand these diagrams, guys? From the plan view or the top view to the synoptic weather map to the satellite image, and lastly to the cross-sectional view.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So our 2 hours is already over by 3 minutes. When we come, okay, this is the task. You guys are going to look at occlusions, okay? Now you guys will now look at occlusions, the occluded stage. Occlusions, okay? Tell us all you know about occlusions, and including diagrams. So explain and also use
So,
diagrams.
sir, when you say,
Yes.
so, sir, if you say include diagrams, won't get A4 jar.
I'm talking about occlusions, Lana. Have you already done occlusions? It's occlusions,
No,
Jan.
sir.
I didn't say the stages of development of a mid-latitude cyclone. It is the occlusions. So go and research.
No, he's saying about the drawings. He's talking about the drawings.
The drawings. Why must there be 4?
The cross section, the plan view.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. I get the question now. So when I talk about the drawings here, the one that I say we use, it is the cross-sectional view.
Okay, sir.
So the cross-sectional view, remember I said that it is more realistic, right? So use
Yes.
it. Yeah, using cross-sectional view of a mid-latitude cyclone. So that is just going to give us something like 10 marks in total. You go and research about occlusions. Researching means what? You go and take your textbook, a prescribed textbook, so then be Focus, Platinum, Via Africa, Viva Africa or something like that, and you can take Siavula. You can take many study guides, guys. There are many study guides you can download using your internet. Alright, then you read the study guides. You try your best to get the information that you understand. You write it down as an explanation. Explain it in your own words. Don't just copy down what's written. This will happen. Because this time is serious. I'll ask you guys, what is this? How this happened? Okay. So when I'm talking about research, it's about reading textbooks. If you don't understand what's written on the textbook, there are many ways to fix that. There is YouTube that has got descriptive videos, animation videos to show you how a process works. If that doesn't work, there is a group where you can ask your peers. If you guys still are not able to get it together, there is me whom you can ask for assistance. Not that I'll be telling you the answer, because there wouldn't be a purpose for this exercise. There's me, you can ask for assistance or a bit of enlightening. Okay, so all of those 3 options, I don't expect any excuses when you come on Wednesday. We have got a lot of time now between now, which is Monday, or today Sunday, right, and Wednesday. Please just take your time to complete it, guys. Do you need to try and use the 1 hour rule sometimes? Try to study something for 1 hour. Do you think guys wouldn't be able to do such a simple exercise within 1 hour? Wouldn't you?
We can.
Yeah.
So you guys are telling me you don't have any 1 hour whereby you are scrolling TikTok or you are doing something that is unnecessary. You must be having that 1 hour that is going to waste. Just use only 1 hour, guys. You don't have to put too much pressure on yourself, because it's the beginning of the term. We are taking things slowly but surely here. That's why we are not rushing, because other people would have been done with occlusions already. Other people would be done with mid-latitude cyclones already. But because we want you guys to understand, what do you need to do? You need to take your time. Give yourself 1 hour to do the exercises and to do the research. Try your best. Yeah, it's not all about perfection, guys. Remember, just do your best.
Yes.
Let's close with a prayer as always, guys. Please pray for us, whoever is willing to, please.
Hey guys, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, can we please all close our eyes
Yes.
and bow down our heads and pray? Father
Yes.
God, thank you so much for this wonderful day. Thank you, God, for this wonderful Sunday that you have brought us through. Lord, I pray that going into the next week, we may all be able to learn, not burn out. It's matric. It's been very hard. But Lord, we know that through you, it's all going to be possible. I pray that everything we've learned so far we may be able to digest, may be able to apply in the upcoming tests, all the way leading up to final exams at the end of the year. I pray that you may please be with everyone here tonight. Please guide them. Please keep them safe together with their families and everyone all the way till tomorrow when we have to go to school. I pray for our wonderful teacher that he may carry on gaining in knowledge and keep us giving us all this wonderful information. I pray in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.